Hey, it's Jay. Why don't we learn a little bit about Azure Bicep and do some infrastructure as code right here on Azure FunBytes. Hey everybody, it's Jay. Well, I've been playing around with a lot of the really cool tools that help me build things with Azure. And one of the things I've really got to learn a lot about lately is working with Bicep. And Bicep is a language for declaratively deploying Azure resources. And you can use Bicep instead of JSON when you're developing ARM templates, Azure Resource Manager. So Bicep simplifies the process, providing a concise syntax, better code for reuse, and improved type safety. Bicep's a DSL, a domain-specific language. So when we talk about using something like Chef, Chef has a DSL of Ruby. And so you're building things to extend the actual Chef process using Ruby. The same can be said about using JSON and Bicep files, or I should say Bicep files, to convert JSON so that your ARM template can load them. Now, one of the things that I've done to really get started, and so I have to move my head back and forth, so I'm going to give you both views so you can always see my face while I'm going back and forth between my two screens. One of the real big benefits of Bicep, and let's bring up this, is support for all resource types and API versions. So when there's a new service for Azure, Bicep just immediately supports it. The authoring experience, there's a Bicep extension here in VSCode. So let's look it up, Bicep language support. You'll get validation, IntelliSense for that type definitions that are all stored and auto-completed, resource property names and property values. You'll be able to list all the different types of resources that are available. There's of course the auto-completions and then snippets that you can use, that you can show up where they're valid. Code navigation, you can use Peek, so you can look at those parts of your code that you want to take a specific look at. References within Peek, the outline view, the breadcrumb view, highlight, so you can see highlights of specific symbols, refactoring, so you can use the rename symbols such as param resource, and Bicep will intelligently rename all of that. Formatting, all these different things. So if you're using an editor like VS Code, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get started because VS Code has so many great tools already within it to help you get a great experience. And so there are a couple of different ways you can create things within Bicep. And there's this quick start. And what this quick start allows you to do is to essentially create a resource with Bicep. So why don't we do that together? So the first thing I want to do is create a terminal within here. And as you can see, I've got Azure CLI, or not Azure CLI, but I have Azure CLI. That command is not going to work. Azure group create, and then let's give it a name, and we'll call it Bicep group, and then location, it will be East US. And so now we'll create our resource group because we're going to need to do deployments. And in order to do our deployments, we're going to need to do it all through our resource group. And so you can see here in this area right here, I've created my resource group. Resource group is kind of like a carton of eggs. You put things in, you can take things out, and you can throw away the whole resource group if you actually want to. So let's go on and let's do this. Let's create a Bicep file. So what I'll do is I'll go here into VS Code, new file. And so the first thing you want to do with this new file is you want to save it as the the file with an extension of .bicep. I've done this once before, so let's save this Azure deploy.bicep. I'll just save over that file. Replace. Yep. So now I've got a blank bicep file. You can see here, if I start typing, you'll see that there are the resources that are automatically auto-completed because it recognizes I'm using a bicep file. So what we're going to do with Bicep today is add a basic storage account to this resource file. So this is all in the documentation that you can get. It's right within your grasp. What you can do is you can go to this URL. I've created a short link for you so that you can go to that and you can make use of these same things and work and create your own Bicep created resources. So let's copy this and let's paste it in here. And let's go ahead. I'm going to just turn on. Let's turn on, we'll toggle word wrap just so it looks a little better. Let's bring this out here a little bit more. And so let's take a look at what we've got here. So the resource is STG. That's storage. This is a resource. It's a keyword. It allows us to reference back to what exactly the type of resource we're going to create. And so we've got right here specified the Microsoft storage account. That's from the standard ARM template reference. If we go here, we take a look, we can define these different resources in ARM templates. We can use this specific API reference right here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give it a display name, and or I should say a name. And so this is a globally unique name. It's specific to what we want to call our storage account. There's some limitations on the length of our storage account names. So I'm just going to give it something unique. We'll call it JStore1212. And next, we've got our display name. And this is, I believe, the tag that we're going to create in our resource, so that if we want to have tags created, we'll have that. Next, we see the SKU that provides us with the name of the type of storage. And if we look here, I believe, let's see. So if we started doing this from scratch, we can see that all these different resource types or SKU types are here in the autocomplete. So we can just click that. The tier types of standard, premium, whatever. And so the kind is specifically storage that we're creating. And so to deploy this, let's go over here. We see we have completion and validation. We can see that there's all these different types of storage, whether it's blob storage, block storage. We're just going to create a generic storage account. And what we can do next is add parameters. So what we can do right here is go to the top, add our parameters. And so we can use the storage account name here. And instead of using a globally unique name, what we can do is just pop in storage account name. It works that way. So we have that parameter right here. Storage account name must be globally unique. And so what we're going to do here is next deploy it. So let's save this file. Okay. And so now we've got, let's just take this out here. Delete that. We've got our tag. And actually what we can do is have our tag match storage account name. So we've got that there. Yep. And all the other things are still the same. This is just about the length of the actual storage account name. It's 3 or 24. The minimum is 3 characters. The max is 24. And so now what we're going to do is actually deploy this Bicep file. So what I'm going to do is just going to open up this for Scratchpad, and we're going to use the Azure command line interface. And so I'll just copy this, and you can see here, let me just turn on word wrap again. You can use PowerShell as well. So if you have the PowerShell Azure CLI module installed, you'll be able to do that. But we're going to just use Azure CLI. I like it the best. It's my favorite. It's bash friendly, and I'm a bash nerd. So what we've got here is Azure deployment group. So this is essentially telling Azure that I want to create a deployment group. And within that, I'm going to do it in our specific resource group. So we called it Bicep group. So I'll just change this here. The template file, let's go into where I've created. So, CD desktop. I've put it in CD desktop, and I believe it's Bicep stream. Yep, and you'll see I've got Azure deploy.bicep. And now we can specify the template file. The location will be relative to where you actually run the AZ CLI deployment from. So if you've got it in, say, you're running it from another directory and you want to specify, desktop or something like that, you can do that. But we're going to be running it right from the directory. And so now here we have parameters that we can set. And in this case, let's go back to the file. You can see right here our parameter that we need to have specified as the storage account name. So let's specify a unique name. And so it'll be JStore1212. Save that. We don't need to save it. This is just Scratch. So we're going to just copy this. And so what will happen if we go ahead and hit enter after we've copied and pasted in is that Azure deployment is going to start happening. This is going to get sent. Let's see. The template deployment, not a valid storage account name. Okay, so that's not a problem. It's just something with the name of my account. So JStorage Bicep. Let's try that. Okay. So what's going to happen is this should be sending everything to Azure Resource. Let's see. Storage account name is not a valid storage account name. Okay. Let's see what we've got. So there's something here that we did wrong. Param storage account name string. Okay. Let's go back. Let's take a look. We'll go into the beginner biceps tutorials, and I believe if I go to this parameter section, I can grab the file right here. Yep. Just wanted to grab the file and put it here. So same thing here. We have your param storage name string, name, storage name, and the kind of storage v2. So we'll be using this bicep. Sometimes you gotta make mistakes to get it right. Ain't that the truth? So let's deploy the file. As you can see right here, same kind of concept. The only difference here is that they specified a bash variable for bicep file. And so I could do that right here by just doing bicep file equal Azure deploy.bicep. And so now what I can do here, go here, put this back in our Scratch, our resource group, bicep group. And now we have our parameter. We'll call storage name here, JStore01. Okay. Thanks for being patient with me, because sometimes when you do it and you do it live, these things, little things happen. So as you can see now, I've ran the deployment, and it's now essentially applying the Azure Resource Manager template in Bicep style and over to Azure Resource Manager. And Azure Resource Manager is going to see the instructions and say, I want to create a storage account. I want to give a parameter as the name. And so we have it here. The location I want to build it in is East US. The name is standard LRS. The kind of storage we want to create is V2. And the properties of special options that we have is supports HTTPS traffic only. So this has succeeded, and we can see what our output is. And our output essentially gives us the correlation, the duration of how long it took to create, then the full ID. So we see here subscription, my subscription number, the resource group, the Bicep group, providers, the specific Microsoft storage accounts, and JSTOR 01 is the storage we created. And so if I go here and I go into the portal, I'm going to show you, we've got our resource groups, Bicep group that we created. Here's our JSTOR storage account. And if you actually go into deployments here, you'll see the add name parameter deployment that we ran. And we can actually, if we wanted to download the deployment, we can do that. We could also look at the actual template I believe this would be, this is in the standard JSON style. So this is what it actually converted what we built into an ARM template. So we have the two to compare. So we created a storage account together. We used Azure Bicep. We went through using the actual extension within VSCode. This is a real simple getting started. There are more advanced things that you can use. One of the great places that you can get started in to see a lot of the different types of templates that exist, which I think you'll like, is the Bicep Playground. And let me bring that up for you real quick before we finish. The Bicep Playground, it actually gives you comparisons between the sample templates that are created in our quick starts. So here we have what a hello world looks like in a standard JSON ARM template, and then it converts it over here to the Bicep format. So that's pretty much it. So let's remind each other, you can check out the Bicep documentation. Go ahead and check out this URL. I really recommend you watch this video with Brendan Burns. It's really interesting. It gives you some of the reasons why and how, and then run through these tutorials. I think that they're really great for you to use to learn. So that's it for me. You can always keep your eyes on AzureFunBytes. AzureFunBytes every Thursday, 2 p.m. on the East Coast, 11 a.m. Pacific. Give us a view. Give me a shout. Let me know what you think of this video. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.